Hi everybody, it's Angelique coming to you live from my art studio in fabulous Las Vegas. It's been a while, and since I've been with you, I'm doing a little bit of rebranding. I'm no longer the shoe chick. The name of my company is Paint with Angelique. I'm still in Las Vegas. Um, let's get with it. Okay, I'm doing Hocus Pocus, kind of a play on that whole thing. But this one is called Black Girl Magic. Isn't it cute? Got a great response from this painting, so I decided to do a tutorial and sell the paint kits. So the paint kits are only, well, I'm not going to tell you because they might go up. So you got to comment here or email me, um, and I will let you know. If you're in Las Vegas, they can be delivered to you. And I do ship if you're not in Las Vegas, okay? So let's get with it. So that's Hocus Pocus. Let's go over, I'm sorry, that's Black Girl Magic. Let's talk about what's in your paint kit. You have a pre-traced canvas. This one's a hard trace. And when I say it's a hard trace, that means it has, like it's done in Sharpie, okay? Because that ring that we have, that glow, is kind of hard to do. And you'll see, like our regular way. It's hard to do our regular way. So I had to create a different way. I don't like my lighting here. But anyway, we'll go with it. You can see the ring light in my eyes. I hate that, and I don't know how to get away from that. But anyway, I hope it's not too distracting for you. Um, okay, so I've already taken all the lids and tape and all that stuff off my paints. Quite a few colors that we're working with today. And you have an apron. This white thing right here is your apron. It fully opens and goes over your head. Then you have a highly absorbent blue paper towel. And then you have all your brushes, which is a flat tip brush, a sponge brush, and a detail brush. Now, I want to tell you something. You might want to invest in some paint brushes if you're going to paint with me on a regular basis, because these are very basic brushes that you could just throw away. And that's what they're designed for, okay? So, with that being said, invest in some really good paint brushes, but I'm going to do this painting with the tools that you have, the exact same tools. So the first thing that we're going to do, like we always do, is we're going to take the sponge brush, we're going to dunk it in the water, we're going to put a light coat of water on the canvas. We're not going to worry about erasing the trace lines, especially on this one, because it is actually Sharpie. And the reason why I did Sharpie is because we're going to have to work a little bit to get that moon glow in the back. Now, usually when you paint as an artist, you paint the background, you treat the canvas by putting a material called gesso on it, or maybe you just do several coats of paint. But you have to put something on the canvas to prime the canvas so it's ready to accept paint. Now in the paint party world, we just use water and a brush, okay? And we wait for that water to dry. And the reason why we do that, like I said, to prime the canvas so that the first coat of paint just doesn't get sucked into the canvas, okay? That makes sense, right? So we're going to take a look at the background. Now, you have a reference photo in your kit. And, of course, like I always say, you can paint the painting any way you want to. But if you want to stay, if you want it to look like my painting, of course, you're going to stick to the reference photo. So if you look at the reference photo, and I'm actually looking at the actual painting, that's why you see me looking down like this. We're going to paint the moon glow in the background first. Then we're going to get all the colors on the canvas, and then we're going to work out the details. And I'm not staying with you through the entire thing. Look, my hands are dirty because I've been painting already today. So what we're going to do is I take you on these videos, these tutorials, I take you 90% through the painting, 90%, and then you're on your own for the rest. So what we're going to do first is get all the colors down and then the details later. So the colors we're going to work on are on the background. So in that moon glow, you see that green first, then you see a little purple, and then you see a little black, and it's kind of a mixture in the background for that. So I'm going to take the green first, and I'm going to let the white of the canvas for now be my white, okay? So I'm using that sponge brush for that. It's still wet, still has water on it. I didn't dry it off or anything. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at where I want. It looks like I got a little other color in there, but that's okay. How I want that moon glow to go. So I'm just doing approximate because I always tell you, like, I can't even paint the painting the same way. But and also I'm painting, on the side here. So the moon glow, I'm going to put it like right there, the circle, the main part of it staying white right there. And then I'm going to take my brush and I'm going to lightly press on the sponge and create the little glowing effect. And I'm going to lightly take the tip and I'm going to drag a little bit in the middle like that. Okay? With me? Then I'm going to just kind of brush it out. I still haven't dipped in my paintbrush, in my paint anymore. And it's getting a little bit into the hair, and I don't really care because I have to make sure that I get some good brush strokes going in there. So if you get a little bit on the hair of the other sisters here, the sisters, it's okay. So I got a little bit of green in there, a little green in there. So if I look in the background, the next color in there is purple. And that purple is really dark, right? So I'm going to go back and I'm actually going to fill in this green all the way to the end. Now this particular painting, it's really good if you have a blow dryer because there's a lot of layering going on these colors. And when I was doing this, I had a blow dryer. And if this was TV, I'd break and then come back. But, I don't do any editing on these videos, so it is what it is. So I have a second tray, or you can get another tray and kind of fan it a little bit. Just a little bit. It doesn't have to be totally dry, but you know how acrylics are. If you keep putting paint and paint and paint on top of it, it's going to start to get like a muddy effect, okay? So in this tray, my second tray, or you can use that same tray that your paints, you only have one tray with me, so you might get a paper plate from the kitchen, put me on pause, or just take all your paints out of the tray and use that mixing tray to fan your painting a little bit. Okay, so the background has purple in it, but that purple's a little dark, so I'm going to take the purple out of my paint kit. I'm going to scoop some in the corner. If you can't get it to come out, I hope you have like I might have put a popsicle stick in your kit, or you could just take any brush. Or the back. I'm going to take the back of this brush. I'm such a messy painter. That's why my hands are like always like all messed up with paint. So I got a little bit of purple in there. And then I'm going to get a little bit of black. And you guys know black is a super powerful color. So it's only going to take a little tiny bit. And I could just put that black on there and then put the purple on top of it. But black is so powerful, I don't want to do that. So I mix a tiny bit of black in with my purple. I get this dark purple right here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go take my sponge brush. I didn't take, look at that. See how messy I am? You should have wiped that with your paper towel. Sorry. Look how dirty my hands are. But that's what painting's about. It's not fun if it ain't messy. Okay. So I'm taking that color that I made. I didn't put any more water on my sponge brush. And I'm painting the ends all the way fully to the corner. I'm letting a little bit of that green come through. And I'm just painting it all the way to the corner. I don't want any white showing. Okay? And I'm going to take it all the way down here using the tip of that brush because there's some tight spaces in here. And then I'm also going to come down here. I'm rubbing now because my brush is pretty dry. And as I'm painting sideways, you see, I really have to take a look at where I want that color to be. Okay? So, doesn't look good, right? That's because we got a lot of blending that we have to do in this thing. I'm also looking right here. So you're going to look at your reference photo. That's all background that you see. All background. I'm going to take a little bit of water on my brush. Just a little bit. If you put too much, and by the way, that water cup that you have, you should fill halfway with water. And I'm going to do, some blending. And look at how I messed up right there. But we know in art that there are no mistakes, right? And I'm glad that happened because there was a little bit too much water on my brush. So I'm just going to take my paper towel. I'm just going to wipe it off. No big deal, right? I'm going to try to catch that a little bit right there. I'm taking that all the way out to the end and I'm blending with a little bit of water. I'm blending, 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 blending. Curving my brush because I want to get a circle in there somewhere. And I'm blending, blending, blending with quite a bit of water on my brush. See how that's going? So you get a little bit of purple, a little bit of black, and you can kind of see that green coming through there, right? And I tried to cover all of the white. And I'm even going to do the sides here because, you know, we always paint the sides because then you will not need a frame. Now, as you're looking at this, you see that all those background areas, right? Through here, there, some tight spaces. You're going to use this brush right here. And we're going to go into that purple and black color that we made, that we just used. And I'm going to fill in the spaces. I don't want any white coming through those spaces. So you can even go into your green and use your green in a little black and purple. I have green on my brush now. I didn't even wash it off. And I'm adding green. Now, a lot of times if you painted with me before, we always outline. I'm really hesitant to outline because I want to get that glow effect. Now, really, if we weren't in the paint party world and we were doing this painting, we would paint that glow first, then we'd wait for it to dry, and then we'd sketch out these characters here, and then we would paint them. But we're in the paint party world, and we're in the pre-trace paint party world. So that adds a little bit of difference to the game, a new element to the game. So I don't really want to trace because I want it to seem very well blended. So I'm going between my green and the black, and I'm filling in these spaces as best as I can without any white showing through. I did not put that sponge brush in the water. I have that sponge brush laying in a tray, okay? So, got it? Doesn't look like much, right? That's because you got to really work with this. It takes a while. I'm going to let that part dry just for a little bit, or you can take a blow dryer, or you can take your fan and go like this, your tray and go like this, if it's not too messy. And then, I was going to work on another area, but I think I'm going to take a little bit of purple. And I want to make sure that you can see some brush strokes when I lay this down here. So I'm in purple. I'm curving my brush a little bit because I want it to look like a glow. Curving, 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 curving. And then I'm working out of my mixing tray here. I'm going to put a little black on my brush because I want it to be a little darker in the corners, so very dark in the corners. Then I'm just kind of drag my brush a little more, curving it, curving it, curving it. Then I'm going to let it dry, and then I'm still going to mess around with it just a little bit more. So very dark in the corner, dragging it, dragging it, dragging it, dragging it, dragging it, curving my brush, dragging, dragging, dragging. At the top, it's very dark too. If you look at your reference photo, very dark at the top, dragging, dragging, dragging. So what about these areas in here? I got to take my time, add a little bit more water because I'm blending. Not too much, we don't want it to drip. And I'm kind of dragging it through these spaces because I don't want any white showing through there. So I'm using my purple and gray my purple and black mixture through here. You can certainly add a little bit of green if you want. Right behind her hair right here. I think, is there another space? Nope, not right there. There's another little background space right here. I'm going to make that black. And if I'm going too fast, pause it. It's a video. Pause it! Alright, so I'm going right here. And then there's another space right here. And these spaces you can outline and then paint in. So really for my videos, I really recommend that you watch them first, because I used to paint with tutorials a lot, so I can testify. Like sometimes I try to keep up, I'm like, how the heck? And then I'd realize, oh, I should probably watch it first and then try to do it. It's much easier if you watch the videos first and then you paint. And then you pause it. So I'm painting right here. That's also the background. That part's really dark. There's no other colors in there as I look at the reference photo. Okay? So still not looking as great as the original when you look at the background. So it's dried a little bit while I've been working on these two areas. You can take your blow dryer again at this time or fan it just a little bit. I'm going to fan it. Then I'm going to go right into my green. You can put the green in your mixing tray or wash your brush off. If you're washing your brush off, swish it around in your water. Wipe it off on the paper towel. And let's add a little bit more green. And I want to get more focused on getting rid of that hard line for my glow. So what I'm doing is I'm putting that green paint right on that hard line there. And I'm curving it around the top to create that glow effect. And if you look at that reference photo, that green comes all the way down to her hair there. Even if you get it in the hair, it's okay. We can fix that later. Even if you get it in her hair, it's okay. You can fix that later. But we really want it to be connected. So go as far as you can. This is a process. I would say out of the entire painting, I spent the most amount on the glow. Okay? So the glow, it needs to come down like under her hair here. So you're going to curve your brush a little bit more. And really look at your reference photo. And that glow goes behind the queen right here in the middle. So I'm taking my brush, I'm curving it, and I'm coming right into her face as much as I can. Really trying to create, like, this is a circle. So if we were doing the background first, we could just circle it all on. And you actually still can. That's why I did it in Sharpie, the trace, so that you can drag the line around and try to get some uniformity to make it really look like a circle. So don't be so concerned with those trace lines, because as you see, they're coming right out. Behind that marker, that marker makes it come out a lot. So that's why I tried to use the marker, because it's going to come through the paint. So I'm dragging it around. Still don't like this area right here, right? Doesn't look very well blended. But I'm going to wait and come back to that. So the next thing that I'm going to do, I'm really going to leave it alone this time to dry before I add the next colors. And as I'm looking at it, I'm like, ooh, there's a white space right there I don't like. So, all right. And then there's a little bit, right there, and a little bit right there. So make sure there's no white in between the characters. Or you have to make her hair bigger, and I don't really want to do that. So, that is a critical part. That glow in the background needs to be on point. So you're going to have to spend a lot of time with that, blending. If you want to go around and over the characters, it's fine. You can do that as well. I'm going to quickly paint each one of their dresses. The purple, the green, and the red for the big girl, the green, and then the purple. Okay, got to tell you about this dress right here. When I did this painting, I actually didn't do it in my studio. I did it somewhere else, and I don't have that exact green. You have blue and you have green that you can mix in your tray with a tiny, tiny bit of black. Is going to get you real close to that color, but not exactly that color. If you exactly want that color, you need to go buy emerald green, or it's called forest green or something like that. You can get it at Michael's or at Walmart. But you can also mix these colors to come really close to that color. So I got the blue in here, I got the green, and I'm going to put a little bit of black. So it is more blue than it is this color green. So I'm going to take a tiny, tiny bit of green. I'm going to mix it in with my blue, just a tiny bit. And then I'm going to add a little bit of black to get that dark green color. And again, this is skill level like 3 or 4 compared to my skill level 1. You got to really play around with it a little bit. You might have to add a little bit more green. You might have to add a little bit more blue till you get the color that you want. Okay, so I'm going to paint her first. I mixed with this brush, which wasn't a good idea, but whatever. So I'm going to outline. Now this is where our bases come in, how we usually do our paintings, is I outline first. And this color is a little bit more blue than green, but I'm okay with it. If you're not okay with it, add more green. Add a little bit more black, and I'll do that just to show you the difference. Mixing that right in my tray, and I'm getting a little darker green. I like that, actually. So I'm going to paint the 3 dresses. I'm going to turn some music on so you can catch up. Some YouTube approved music so I don't get banned. Let's see, my speaker's not on. Party file here. Let me turn my speaker on. Okay. Okay, I'm having a big party file here. But y'all just keep on painting while I get this together. Okay, there it is. I'm going to quickly paint the dresses. Using the flat tip brush. We're not using a sponge brush for anything else anymore. Putting a little bit of water on my brush because that paint's getting a little sticky. Get all the paint down, worry about the details later. Outline and fill it in. One dress almost done. Might have to put another layer of paint on her dress. It's a little transparent. We want it to be opaque. We don't want any white coming through. So for no white coming through, let me turn this a little bit. For no white coming through, you need to add another coat. I'm going to swish that brush around in the water like so. Swish, swish, swish. I'm going to wipe it off on my highly absorbent blue paper towel. And then I'm going to go into the next colored dress, which is going to be purple for me. You can switch the colors up if you want. I think the purple against the yellow hair looks cool though. So purple's next. Outline it if you want and paint it in, or just paint it in. Coming close to that green, I don't want any white gaps in there, okay? Do my purple again. If it gets sticky, a little bit of water, okay? All the way down, getting all the colors down. Paint first, details later. I would go over her one more time, go over this purple one more time before I start the details, okay? Purple, paint the sides. So funny thing, if you look at this corner, that black paint right here, that little gap right there, is kind of giving it a little booty. So make sure there's a curve somewhere. So I'm going to put a little black paint on my brush and make sure that it looks like she has a little booty there. So kind of hump it out somehow, curve your brush, and make it make sense. Use your artist's eye. Because when I just looked in there, it didn't look right. But this is a reverse image for me, so it's a little more difficult. Plus, I'm painting out an angle. So I'm trying to make sure that that makes sense there. I'll go back to that later to fix it. Oh, yeah, that's better. All right, where we at now? Where we at? Red dress. Swishing my brush around in the water. You guys see pretty good. It's more important that you see this than you see me, so, okay. Swishing my brush around in the water. Wiping it off on my blue paper towel. Going into my red paint. Outlining her. Paint it in. This is where if you have a better paint set, a bigger brush would come in a lot handy. If you have another sponge brush, you can use it. I have an extra sponge brush, so to save me time, I'm just gonna paint right in with a different sponge brush. Or you can use that same flat tip brush. Using a flat tip brush is fine. But I'm just trying to save a little bit of time here for the video purpose. Okay. Be careful not to get the green in. Hopefully that green is dry enough. Now, we would go, let me turn my mic up a little bit. You might want to go back into your green and put another coat on that. And I'm going to adjust my lighting a little bit so there isn't such a glare on it. So, let's see, maybe I can move my easel a little bit. I want to get the glare off that green. You can still see it glistening a little bit. You can tell that it's still wet, okay? We want to apply another coat over that. So you would put 3 coats again, right on another coat of green, another coat of purple, another coat of red, till it's more opaque, okay? I'm just trying to get all the colors down for you right now. Now, I'm going to go and do, let's see. I think I'm going to do their skin next. So, for the queen in the middle, I'm just going to come straight out of my brown paint and do her face. I wash my brush out in the water because every time we change colors, we squish our brush around in the water and we wipe it on the paper towel, right? So I'm going to do her skin first. You can outline it first and paint it in, or not. Whatever's easier for you. So this one was no, turn the music down. When I did the brown for the queen in the middle, I came straight out of the paint, okay? I didn't mix any color with it. Just straight out. And when I get to her, I'm going to mix a little bit of white in it. And when I get to her, I'm going to mix a little bit of brown. A little bit of black in it, okay? So that's how I got the different shades of brown for the queens. So for the next lady, the queen that has the red on, she was a little bit lighter. So I took a little bit of white paint, a little bit of brown, mixed it together. And did her face. Again, you can outline it first. Make sure it connects. Make sure there's no space in between her face and that red color, okay? And then I'm doing around the hair, which when we paint that in, we can change the shape of that. So I'm doing her face. And then I'm going to mix a little bit of black with her brown in my mixing tray and make a darker complexion for the last lady. The last queen. And I did rinse my brush off in the water first because I don't want the white on there. I want it to be a little bit darker. So a little bit of black and a little bit of brown. I'm going to outline her first. And then I'm going to fill her in. And she's a little bit darker than my reference photo, but I'm okay with that. I actually like there being more of a contrast between the skin colors. If you don't like it, you could add a little bit more brown to it, of course, to lighten it up a little bit. So this is her neckline, and this is another one of those cases where you want to always make sure that the skin connects with the paint so there's no dark spaces, okay? My paintbrush is getting a little dry, so I'm adding a little bit of water on it. And just like all the other areas of the painting, if you're seeing brush strokes or if it's not dark enough, you're going to apply a second coat, okay? All right, so all the colors down, details later, okay? Ooh, sorry. My nose is running for some reason. Okay, so I see a little bit of white I need to get out of here, so I'm going over the dress again. And again, I would go over all three of these dresses because it doesn't look good in this light. I'm going to pull back a little bit. Yeah, so you need to go over all these dresses. I'm going to go over the green one real quick because it's bothering me. So I don't want any white spaces. And you'll see when you apply that second coat of paint, and again, no white spaces. So either you bring the brown closer or you bring the green closer. I'm bringing the green closer when there's a gap. So the next thing that I'm going to do is the hair. I think the hair, the yellow hair and the purple are pretty easy, pretty self-explanatory if you've been painting. But the hair for the queen in the middle might be a little bit challenging for you. So I'm going to go over that first. Okay, putting another coat of paint on her. Really did make a difference there and showing you how these acrylic paints, we're painting with acrylic paints. They wash easily off your skin, not so easily off your clothes. And they get more opaque, of course, like many paints do, as you apply the different layers, okay? So I'm going to pull back just a little bit more. Okay. So again, doesn't look like much, but it will when we finish. Okay, purple hair on... Okay, first I want to work on her hair because I want you to see how we get all those brush strokes in her hair. So I washed my brush out already. I wiped it off on my blue paper towel. The background of her hair, actually, it's all those colors are built up on red. So I'm going to outline her hair like this. And totally paint it in red. Remember how I keep saying details later? There's always a base first and then the details. So I'm trying to connect so there's not much white space. Red down first. We're going to do all their hair. Yellow. Now, if you cross the lines of their hair, you might want to put a little bit of white paint into your mixing tray. And we're going to put white so that the colors that we're going to lay on top of it is brighter. The colors show up better, okay? So you should be able to see, because it was done in Sharpie, where the lines are. Like in her hair right here, where I've got that green overlapping. I'm taking white paint and I'm cleaning up the lines. And you know, we usually use the white paint for last, for highlights and everything, and we're still going to do that. But since I have white paint in my brush, I have just a tiny bit of white on there because I just filled in those spaces. I'm just going to drag it because I was waiting for this area to dry. I'm just going to drag a little bit of white paint through that glow of the moon. And every time I go back into my white paint to add more for the background, I'm actually wiping it off a little bit on my paper towel. That's how little. It's like a dry brush technique. My brush is really dry, and then I just got a little bit of paint on it. I'm kind of just dragging it through that moon. I'm going to put a little bit of water on my brush, and I'm just going to drag a little bit more. And if you look into that moon a little bit, there's also green kind of dragged real close to the middle. So I put a little bit of green on my brush and a little bit of water. And I'm working with that moon glow just a little bit more. And I'm telling you, you don't have to work with this moon glow a lot. It takes a little while for you to get that right. Dragging a little bit of white into these areas here. I'm going to go back into the green because I don't like how it looks. And I'm going to play with my green just a little bit more. And just remember, it's a journey, not a race, okay? So this is the part where you're really going to have to enjoy just like working with the paint, working with the water, working with the different colors until you get that glow effect that you want, okay? I would say I spent a lot of time on this glow. I'd say the majority of the paint time. And then I went back later and looked at it and see to see if it was okay, if I was okay with it. So I'm just dragging a little bit of green through there. And then I'm still working with the white a little bit. The white and the green. And I'm putting a little bit of water on my brush to get a better blending. And I'm just going to drag it all the way through. I'm going to add a little bit of white paint when that's really dry to get the effect that I want, okay? Still not looking like much, right? But it always comes together, doesn't it? For those of you who have painted with me, you know it always comes together. Purple hair. Doing purple next. Gonna put the purple, gonna outline it if you choose. Only if that white paint is dry yet. If it's not dry, don't do this step yet. Dry it with a blow dryer, or dry it with by fanning your tray. All right, I'm just going to put all the colors on their hair. I'm going to do that very quickly, and I'm going to play a little music. I'm going to paint her hair purple. I'm going to paint her hair yellow. And then we're going to start working on the queen in the middle. We're going to start working on her hair. I don't have yellow. I gotta go get it. Okay, all done with the hair. I'm going to, since I have yellow on my brush, I'm going to just paint in her belt here. I just freehanded it, just a square. And that area around her belt, that is actually gray. So I'm going to mix up a little gray really quick and paint that in. And what's gray? Gray is white, white and black, right? A lot of white and a little bit of black is going to get you the gray you need for her belt here. Depending on how dark you want it, you're going to add a little bit of black paint. Okay, so this was my goal. My goal was to get all the colors down for you and then show you that you have to work every piece and work out the details. Make sure there's no gaps in between, no white space, because that just doesn't look right. Like over here, I should, fill that in with red. Shouldn't be a gap there. Make her hair bigger to connect or whatever I have to do so there are no white gaps showing, because that's just not, I have a little bit of red apparently on my brush somehow. Okay, so no gaps, no white gaps, okay? That moon is just still not right, so you're going to have to go back and kind of play with it a little bit. And keep working on that. Keep working on that glow, okay? But the details, I think the biggest one that I need to show you is, hold on, I want to fill in her belt a little bit better. I want it to be just a little bit darker. And in the middle there, dark too. All right, so I can leave that like that, but I don't want, remember I talked about no white space. So make sure when you're painting this in that there's no white space. Okay? And you'll see as you go along and fill in the details, you'll see what I mean by that. I'm going to just show you the details of how to work on her. I think you can figure out the details on the hair on her, that you're just adding a little bit of orange and a little bit of red to get those highlights in her hair. The important thing now is that you wait for it to dry before you add all the details. So if you wanted to add it, because you need another layer of purple here, there needs to be a little bit more green here, and I'd put another layer of red. And that's the quality of paint too that we're working with too. It's kind of like a level 1 beginners. Like a level 2 or level 3, it's going to be a little bit thicker and you won't have to apply so many coats to it, okay? Still a lot of work needs to be done on this painting. The moon's not quite right. And like I said, another layer of paint on all the dresses before you put the details in. Now, with her hair, you have a detail brush. That's a little pointy one in there, okay? Now, the best way I could describe to do the hair, it's a lot of layering and just quick brush strokes. And I say like C's, like you make a little C this way and then a little C that way and then another C and another C. The first coat is dry. That's the red, right? I'm going to go into orange and then I'm going to make a bunch of C's. And I'm going to make sure I'm going to do C's inside of her hair, right? But not only I'm going to do C's inside of her hair, back and forth brush strokes. Back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. I want to make sure I keep that widow's peak in check there. I want to make sure that stays a V right there. And some circles throughout her hair. But the fun part, I think, is that you want to see some brush strokes outside of that uniform shape that we created for her hair, right? So I'm just taking the very tip of my brush and making sure I curl it back and forth. When I mean curl it, I mean turn my brush so they look like curls. Back and forth, okay? So you're going to even do that with red. Even though we layered it with red, we want to get a little red outside. And you're going to see, you're going to have a lot of fun with this as you go along. And then you're going to take a little bit of white and a little bit of orange. And you're going to make a lighter orange and kind of go through her hair a little bit. This was more white than orange, but... And then you'll see it start coming together. So just quick little brush strokes with the detail brush. I'm going to go back into red. Isn't that cool how it comes together? I think the hair and the moon were like the funnest part of the whole painting. They don't have faces. I recommend that you don't put faces on them. But you can if you want because it's your painting, right? That's a little bit of orange, the light orange again. Don't forget to put them in the middle too. There's just not going on the sides. And we're going to let that dry a little bit. And then I'm going to go back to it and work on it some more, right? Because it needs a lot of detail. Now, the lady's hair in yellow, the queen in yellow, she has some orange and a little bit of red highlights. So I'm going to mix the orange and red together in my mixing tray. And then I'm just going to do some quick brush strokes on her hair. I wasn't going to show you all these details at first, but I decided to. So that's how that goes, right? You can do a little blending by adding just a little bit of water. This is like more red than I like, so I'm just going to go back in my orange, go right over those lines, add a little bit of water if you want. Okay, and what other details do I need to show you? Oh, the hair over here, the purple hair. It should be dry now. I'm going right into my orange, and I'm just adding a few highlights. I'm still using that detail brush, by the way. So I try to keep these videos under an hour, but this one was quite detailed. So we're at 51 minutes here. So I'm about ready to sign off because I think you all can get the rest of this. I really like this for painting, and I call it Black Girl Magic. And of course, these tutorials are to give you a guideline so that you can work on it on your own. Look at this. It's nowhere near being done. The light makes it look worse, you know, makes it look bad, but let's see if I pull it back a little bit. That light is hitting it so you can see that it's really not dry. But it's a process. It's a journey. So keep painting. Enjoy the experience. Work on that moon. Add another layer of paint. And I'm just going to do a few more things while I play a little bit of music for about 2 more minutes. Kind of clean it up a little bit. So everybody, I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Take your time with it. This was a fun painting, but also a lot of different processes that go along with it. Just remember that when you're layering, that you wait for one coat to dry and then put the next coat on there, okay? Have fun if you're in Vegas. I hope to see you at one of my live events in Vegas. Follow me on Facebook at Paint with Angelique. Follow me on Instagram, paint_with_Angelique. And I'll see you next time, okay? Keep painting.